Okay, this is our first team chat where you're offering up a monthly coaching call to help us navigate everything happening in the world right now. Can you give us a quick summary of what you do for anyone who hasn't worked with you before?
People always try to say, what is it that you do? And it's just like, well, bottom line is that I really help individuals and organizations get out of their own way so they can realize their full potential. And so the work that I do is all around how do we navigate through change when change is always going to happen. And so that's the type of work that I do around like what's going on in our minds that is really sort of getting in our own way, that's stopping us from progressing and actually realizing positive change. So that's basically the bottom line in terms of what I do.
Okay, so our first team question is, as a female entrepreneur, I really tend to downplay my worth sometimes without realizing it. I know how beneficial it would be to get out there and post about my business, but sometimes I feel like I'm not quite good enough to be posting my opinions on my industry. How would you address this kind of fear of being judged online?
And so one of the things that I always say to individuals is that the reality in life is you're going to be judged whether you decide to show up or you don't show up. So whether you show up with the important work that you're doing, that people out there are really hungry for your unique skill set. They're hungry for your skill set. And when we hold ourselves back, we are doing a disservice not only to us, but for the people that we're going to make positive impact on. So what's interesting in terms of, some of the work that I do is that I realize that with women in particular, and not just women, but men also have the same type of feeling. It just might show up a little bit differently, is that, they are so passionate about the work that they do. And yet they feel like if I bring it out into the world, I'm going to be judged for it. It's like, yeah, you will. And at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be negative judgment. So I always say is like, go back to your values. Like what is really, really, really important um, in terms of values that you have, and how do you bring those values into the space? So when it comes to bringing some of your work into out into the world, it's like what values can you hold on to that will really help you to sort of stay strong and stay vigilant with the work that you're going to do. And like I said, whether you do the thing or you don't do the thing, you're going to be judged. So if that's the case, how are you going to show up anyway? Just knowing that that's going to happen.
Okay, team question number 2. In chaotic times, it's hard not to focus on everything outside of our control. But you talk about keeping our focus on our values and our circle of control. What can we do to stay focused on our goals and our values when everything feels like it's out of control all around us?
So there's so many different ways to sort of visualize this, and I'll just look at one visual. So think about, you're in a boat and you have a destination, and that destination is really important to you. You have this desired destination to reach an island, or you have a destination you want to follow this North Star, right? So you have a destination you want to go to. Rarely does that boat ever go in a straight line. Here's the thing that will help, though, is that there's a rudder that we're going to have. And that rudder is our values. So when times become like when there's a storm, when there's a hurricane, when there's, all of these things that are going to come our way that really are outside of our control, we still have a rudder that will keep us grounded, that will help us navigate through the storms and sort of the uncontrollables that we can't fix. All we can do is learn how to navigate through them. What is so important, though, especially in times like this, is that we have to be, as individuals, extremely clear on what our values are. And those values is what is in our circle of control. That is it.
Okay, so I love what you're saying about using our values to keep us on track towards our goals. I guess my follow-up question would be, how do we do that when that voice inside is screaming at us to stay safe and don't take big risks right now?
So I do a lot of work around reframing, rewording things, how to reword things that helps us feel empowered to move forward. So we kind of talked about this before, like things, there's always going to be something that's going to be scary out there. It's always going to be something that's going to be turbulent out there in life. We know that. So what the inner critic wants us to do is listen to that and say, just play small and play safe, and you're not going to get hurt. Right. So, but what the inner champion wants you to do is say, yeah, this is scary, and you can continue to move forward. It might just not be a straight line, but you can navigate through this. You got this. So what I love, like probably the most important word that I feel is that can be shifted is yes, but the yes, but statement. And so the inner critic wants us to say, let's just say, I want to open up my own business, but ... Right? I want to sell these amazing products, but ... I want to show up on social media, but ... And everything after the word but is really what we're listening to. And we're kind of wasting our breath on everything beforehand because it's insignificant, because we're only going to listen to everything we say after the word but. So how do we shift that and say, okay, let's just acknowledge that something is scary. Something is feels a little unstable. And I am so passionate about making a difference in the world that I live in. And I'm going to do this anyway. Just notice and name the narrative. And when you notice the word but, get really curious about what it is that you're saying before the word but and after the word but. And then flip it. Here's my desired outcome, but fear, right? Fill in the blanks. Desired outcome, but fear. Flip it. Fear and desired outcome.
So team question 3. This one doesn't apply to those of us who are freelancing or being our own boss, but for people who are in organizations right now, it's a pretty scary time, and lots of people play it super safe when they're scared. What would you tell leaders to keep in mind when they're trying to keep their teams on track?
I always say one of the top skill sets that organizations need for progress is creativity, because creativity leads to innovation. The thing is that we can't have creativity unless we feel psychologically safe to make mistakes. And we can't have that if we don't feel like we're allowed to make mistakes. So that's the crux of it right there. We need to know that within our organization, it's a psychologically safe space to make mistakes so we can feel like we can create and then innovate.
Okay, team question 4. You often mention the vortex of discomfort, which is that place where growth happens as our values battle against our imposter syndrome and our inner critic. What advice do you have for someone who feels stuck in that phase and can't stop doom scrolling or can't get themselves out of their own way?
You know, it's interesting because when I hear the word can't, I always ask the really tough question, is that you can't or you won't? You know, like I've heard a lot of people say the doom scrolling, I can't stop. And then I ask the question, is it you can't or you won't? And when we answer it from that perspective, that again empowers us to kind of go, holy shit, I don't have to look at this. My inner critic wants me to look at this. So who's driving the bus, the critic or my champion? And if it's the critic, it's like, fuck you, like critic. You want me to do this, so I'll stay in this vortex of complacency, or I'll stay safe. I'm going to find all of this evidence as to why I shouldn't move forward with my desired outcome, why I shouldn't follow my purpose, values, and principles. So that's why you're telling me that I can't. And so it's almost like having that really tough question, answering that question for yourself is that you can't or you won't. And if you won't, that gives you the opportunity. It's like, I won't do inner critic. It's like, okay, well, the inner critic is now driving the bus. So now I've now just noticed this inner critic is doing that. I'm going to tell this inner critic, you know what? I'm safe. I got this. I know how to do this. Yes, I'm going to make mistakes. Yes, there might be some risk involved. And what's more important for me is to follow my desired outcome and stay true to my principles, values, and purpose in life.
Team question 5. This is our final question. What are the next steps for people who are looking to navigate these extreme times?
And, and we're all feeling that right now. And it's not the first time it might be the first time in our lifetime that we've experienced such unprecedented change. And yet it's not the first time we've had unprecedented change in this world. And this is really, this is an opportunity for us to really create amazing change. The thing is that we need to get out of this feeling of being a victim of this circumstance. So I've launched a really important introductory workshop. I call it the Art of a Champion Mindset, unlocking potential for progress in times of change. And really, this is like a sort of introductory to a model that I've been certified in, where we ask 3 really vital questions. The first question is, where are you putting your focus? Are you putting your focus on the problem, or are you putting your focus on the outcome? And then again, with a deeper dive, we got to actually start to create, like, what is our desired outcome? And the second question is, how are you relating? Are you relating like a victim to circumstance, or are you creating from this situation? And then the third question is, what actions are you taking to unlock your potential to help you move forward with progress? So this is a 90-minute workshop, and I've been introducing it to a lot of CEOs and EDs around Atlantic Canada, and it's really been a game changer for these individuals and these organizations. So I'm now launching it around the world, and I would really love if anybody is looking for this really important work being done in their organization to please reach out, and so we can get you in the books to get this really important work started.